Welcome to Bethany Assembly of God Sunday evening online service, and we're sorry we were late. We had a power outage earlier, but we're back up and running. So tonight we want to thank you for joining us. And tonight I want to share what the Lord has put on my heart. But before I do, let's pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for another opportunity I have to present your gospel. And I pray, Lord, that it will minister to the hearts. I pray you would open the ears to hear and the hearts to receive what you would have this night, Lord. And anything that is accomplished, we will give you the praise and glory. In Jesus' name, amen. This week I had I came across a picture that I saw of a man out in the open field, and he had his Bible standing there with his Bible, and he had a row of people lined up just sitting there listening to him, and he was sharing the word. And he was in a different country, you could tell that, and just in an open field. And there was no church building, there was no live worship, there was no theatrical lights. It was just him with his Bible sharing Jesus. And the Lord spoke to me, and we are to be a light to the darkened world. And we don't need to have big buildings or special programs. We just need to hear him speak to us. And as he speaks to us and we hear his voice, we respond in obedience to what he is speaking for us to do, which is what this older man, he was an older man, this is what he did. He was just out there sharing the word, and there were those who were listening. When God calls us to a task, he gives us the strength and the ability to accomplish that task, regardless of our limitations, whether it be buildings, no sound system, whatever, as you're out there doing whatever he's asking you to do, or if it's personal limitations, physical limitations, whatever, it doesn't matter. If he's called us to do it, he's going to give us the ability to accomplish those tasks. Now think of Moses when he was called. Moses was taking care of sheep in a desert when God called him. And Moses gave all the excuses of why he couldn't lead the children of Israel and all the limitations that he had. But when he wrestled it out with God and sorted it out. And once he obeyed, God was with him. And Moses saw God do some pretty awesome miracles out there. From taking care of sheep to leading about 1 million of God's chosen people to a promised land that he had promised them. And so as we see, and if you take a look at Moses, there was no one else like Moses. He had a relationship with God like no other. He spoke to God, and God came down and spoke to him. So once he settled all the stuff that he felt he couldn't do, God used him greatly. And then when Moses passed away, he had not yet got to the promised land, but he was close to getting there. Joshua was asked to be the leader, and Joshua was his aide. So we're going to pick it up there because there's some things I want you to see. We're going to look at Joshua chapter 1, looking at verses 1 through 9. It says, "After the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord said to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' aide, 'Moses, my servant, is dead. Now then, you and all these people get ready to cross the Jordan River into the land I'm about to give them to the Israelites. I will give you every place where you set your foot, as I promised Moses. Your territory will extend from the desert to Lebanon, and from the great river, the Euphrates, all the Hittite country, to the Mediterranean Sea in the west. No one will be able to stand against you all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, so will I be with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Be strong and courageous, because you will lead these people to inherit the land I swore to their ancestors to give them. Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the law my servant Moses gave you. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left, that you may be successful wherever you go. Keep this book of the law always on your lips. Meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you will be prosperous and successful. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." I want to take a look at verse 5. "No one will be able to stand against you all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you." God again states, I will be with you. So when God asks us to do a task or an assignment, he is always with us. He goes with us. And he again says that to Joshua. But there were some things that he states in this set of scriptures that Joshua had to follow. He says, be strong, courageous, and diligent. Hang in there. Do what I've asked you to do. Number 2, make God's word your authoritative guide for all your beliefs and actions. Meditate on it. Bring it to light. And keep it up front. Study, meditate daily on God's word. Determined to seek earnestly God's presence throughout your life. And that's what he told Joshua to do. If you keep all these things and you follow me, you will be successful. What do we need to do? What does he ask us to do? Read his word. Seek his face. Follow him. Apply the word to your life. As Joshua followed these steps with the children of Israel, God was right there with them. He provided for them. He met their needs. He did miracles for them, and he fought for them. He did all of that. He was right there. And so but I want you to see something. I want to pick it up where he's gonna cross the Jordan River, and they're gonna go and conquer Jericho. But I want us to take a look what is being said about the children of Israel. They go to Rahab's home, and she hides them. And so after the officials come looking for them and they can't find them, they go on, and she goes up to him. So we're going to take a look at Joshua chapter 2, looking at verses 8 through 11. She says, before the spies lied down for the night, she went up on the roof and said to them, I know that the Lord has given you this land, and that a great fear of you has fallen on us, so that all who live in this country are melting in fear because of you. We have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea for you when you came out of Egypt, and what you did to Sihon and Og, the 2 kings of the Amorites east of the Jordan, whom you completely destroyed. When we heard of it, our hearts melted in fear, and everyone's courage failed because of you. For the Lord your God is God in heaven above and the earth below. Their hearts melted in fear because they knew that the Lord was with them. They knew that. The Lord was with Moses. He was with Joshua. And there's one more I want us to take a look at. I want to tell you that Joshua conquered Jericho and into the promised land. But I want to remind you that it was not just handed to them. They had to do their part. And there were things that they had to do and again, groups to fight and all, but the Lord was with them. But there's another one I want to take a look at, and that's Gideon. So we're going to be in Judges chapter 6, looking at 11 through 16. It says, when the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon, he said, the Lord is with you, mighty warrior. And the Midianites and the Amalekites and all the other eastern people had settled in the valley. I'm sorry, let me go back. The angel of the Lord came and sat down under the oak in Ophrah that belonged to Joash the Abiezrite, where his son Gideon was threshing wheat in a winepress to keep it from the Midianites. And when the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon, he said, the Lord is with you, mighty warrior. Pardon me, my Lord, Gideon replied. But if the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? Where are all his wonders that our ancestors told us about when they said, did not the Lord bring us up out of Egypt? But now the Lord has abandoned us and has given us into the hand of Midian. And the Lord turned to him and said, go in the strength you have and save Israel out of Midian's hand. Am I not sending you? Pardon me, my Lord, Gideon replied, but how can I save Israel? My clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my family. And the Lord answered, I will be with you, and you will strike down all the Midianites, leaving none alive. Here we have Gideon. He's hiding in the winepress. He's threshing wheat because he's trying to keep it from the Midianites, because they raid everything that they have, that the Gideons have, the children of Israel have. But the Lord is about to send him on a task, an assignment. And in verse 12 it says, when the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon, he said, the Lord is with you, mighty warrior. Again, you see, the Lord says he is with you. He also calls him a mighty warrior. Gideon doesn't see that about himself at all. He sees that he's the least and the weakest and all of that. He gives his limitations at this point. But God knows what he's capable of. And I'm going to tell you, God knows the finished product of each one of us. He knows what he already has planned for us if we will just accept what he's doing and obey what he wants to do in the task that he has for us. But once again, we see that Gideon gives the excuses or the limitations and why he can't. But as Gideon begins to obey God, through it, you'll see if you read it, there's different things that he asks of the Lord. And then he begins to obey the Lord. But I want to go to Judges chapter 7 because we're going to see Gideon starts out with about 10,000 men, but it's all dwindled down to about 300 men. And that's because the Lord said, I don't want you to think that you did it in your strength. And so he says, I want you to just use these 300 men. So we look at verse 12. It says, the Midianites, the Amalekites, and all the eastern peoples had settled in the valley, thick as locusts. Their camels could no more be counted than the sand on the seashore. That's how many people were in the armies out there. They covered it, and they only had 300 men. But then God tells Gideon to go down, sneak down into the camp with his servant, and hear what they're saying. So we're going to pick it up in verse 13 to 15. It says, Gideon arrived just as a man was telling a friend his dream. I had a dream, he was saying. A round loaf of barley bread came tumbling into the Midianite camp. It struck the tent with such force that the tent overturned and collapsed. His friend responded, this can be nothing other than the sword of Gideon, son of Joash, the Israelite. God has given the Midianites and the whole camp into his hands. When Gideon heard the dream and its interpretation, he bowed down, he worshipped, he returned to the camp of Israel, and he called out, get up, the Lord has given the Midianite camp into our hands. So here we have Gideon hears the dream and the interpretation. Then he goes back to camp and he tells his men, let's go. God's given us this army. And when the men do what Gideon tells them to do, he only has 300, the army, the Lord caused the army to go against each other. They started killing one another, and then they fled, and then the army, Gideon's, and he called others out to capture and destroy them. One moment, Gideon is hiding in a wine press, afraid. The next time we see him, he is a mighty warrior. He has victory. He's done a mighty victory. And what you see is what the angel said to him earlier in the chapter, a mighty warrior has come to pass because God knew that he could do it. He knew he was capable of it. So I have talked about Moses, I've talked about Joshua, and I've talked about Gideon. And the key to their success was the Lord is with you. The Lord is with you. As humbly as we walk humbly with our Savior and rely on his strength, he will empower us to accomplish what's only possible through him as he puts the assignments before us. The Lord has different assignments for our lives at different times in our lives. But when God calls us to an assignment or a task, he gives us the strength to accomplish it, regardless of our limitations or the limitations in which we think we have. And sometimes when he calls us to a task, it requires finances, and we don't have the finances. But if God has asked for us to do it, he will provide the finances to take care of it. He provides all that we need as we trust him. In Micah 6:8 it says, he has showed thee, O man, what is good, and what doth the Lord require of thee, but to do justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with the Lord. What does this mean? What does this verse mean? We must act or do justly, be fair and honest in our dealings with others. Be fair and honest. We must love mercy, show genuine compassion and kindness to people in need, including the lost. He's wanting us to show compassion and kindness. And the third is we must walk humbly with our God. Humble ourselves daily before him in godly fear and reverence for his will. And as you apply this particular scripture to your life, and you do that, and you get up every day and you say, you know what? I'm going to go out with God to partner with him today in his purposes on earth. And you look for whatever God is asking you to do. Some days that may be nothing more than doing a dozen little things throughout your waking hours, such as love well your family, your friends, your co-workers, your neighbors, and those whose path you cross. Listening to those who need a listening ear. Maybe running an errand for someone. Praying for someone. Opening your home after COVID and before COVID. You can open your home. Prepare a meal that someone needs that had surgery. And some days, it may mean an assignment much bigger. For some, it could be combating sex trafficking, the drug world, starting new churches in other countries. Yesterday, my mom was telling me about a book that she is reading. And the Lord spoke to the woman that wrote the book. And she's a Christian author and speaker, and she travels all over. And the Lord spoke to her to share Jesus every time she got on an airplane to the person who sat next to her. So she said, as she went to a foreign country on this particular trip, and on the way home, this big guy, 6'2", came walking in, and that was the seat next to her. And so she thought to herself, he's probably not going to want me to talk to him about Jesus. But she opened with, so what brought you to this country? And so he told her what brought her there. And then he asked her, so what brought you to this country? And that gave her a perfect opportunity to say what she did, that she shares Jesus. And then he said, do you know stories about Jesus? I heard them when I was a kid, but I haven't heard since. So she was able to tell him about the Lord. She shared Jesus with him. And before he got off that airplane, he gave his heart to the Lord. That's obedience. That's doing the task that God asked her to do. Share Jesus. Not everyone will receive, but she's planting seeds. And in that case, he gave his heart to the Lord. He was ready. Being a light in a darkened world. There was one lady that I read her story, and she's an author and a Christian writer and speaker as well. And she was on her computer, and across the computer came a phrase, get your master's degree, and at what university? And she felt that prompting, and she already had her bachelor's, and she thought, oh, no. I don't want to go back to school. I don't want to study. I don't want all of that. And again, that came across her screen. And so she was telling the Lord she didn't want to, but she said, all right, I will fill out the application. And it said it would take several days before they got back once they filled it out. So she said she filled it out, and she heard within 2 hours that she had been accepted to that university. So she thought, okay, if I'm going to send them my books that I've written and the curriculum that I've written and see if I can get some credits for this so I can make my time for my master's degree a little shorter. And so she sent it in, and they wrote her back, and they said, we don't do credit like that, but do you write curriculum for universities? And so she said she knew something was brewing about that time. And then the president of the university called her and said, congratulations, you are now a new professor at our university. And she's like, what? He says, yes, we're going to use your book and the curriculum you have written. We've been praying for a class like this, and you're it. And she's like, but I don't have a post degree. I just have a bachelor's. And he said, that's okay, you're working on your master's at our university. And then he said, and by the way, usually a master's takes 2 years, but we would like you to do it in a year and be our commencement speaker. And she was like, oh my goodness, Lord. But the Lord gave her the ability. That was her assignment. He wanted her to teach there. He wanted her to reach people there, and then also get her master's degree there, because that was her assignment for that particular time. And I will ask you, will you pursue with God what he's calling you to do? Will you pursue it, whatever it is? For some, it is traveling all over. For hers, it was going to the university. For that man that I talked about earlier, it was just going out into an open field and sharing the gospel with those who would listen. Will you pursue the calling that he's asking you to do, the assignment that he's asking you to do? The opportunities are countless, and the needs are many. Whenever God has called you to do, where you are, in your realm of influence, remember, you are the light. You are the light. Little things like that you think, oh, this isn't going to matter much, it does to God. When he asks you to do it, and if it's just opening your home or just praying for someone, if he's asking you to do it, it means a lot to God, because you are being a light in a darkened world. as I saw that picture of that open field, the Lord just spoke to me. You don't need buildings. You don't need theatrical lights. You don't need programs. You don't need live worship. Just be obedient in what I'm asking you to do. And whatever assignment he gives you, being a light in this world in your influence, because your influence will be different than mine. Those you reach will be different than mine. But together, with God's help, and it will be with God's help, because when God asks us to do an assignment, he will go with you. It can't be done without him. It's usually something that cannot be done without him. And he will go with you, as he was with Moses, as he was with Joshua, as he was with Gideon. He will be with you. He will go with you. So let's defeat the darkness, even if it's just one life at a time. We win one, and then we win another, and then we win another. And remember, God is with you when he assigns you an assignment. Let's pray. Dear Lord, I thank you for this opportunity I've had to share your word. And I pray, Lord, that it will challenge us, Lord, that there are those that you are speaking to their hearts, Lord, that you have a particular assignment, a task for them to do. And we try to figure out how it's going to get done, but it cannot get done without you. And you open and close doors where we would have never thought, Lord. So I pray that those that are listening and hearing this tonight will say yes to whatever you're asking them to do, and that they will see it come to fulfillment as you go with them. In Jesus' name, amen. We thank you for joining us, and don't forget that our next service will be Wednesday. Online service will be on Wednesday at 7 o'clock. God bless you.